Welcome to episode 52 of the Self-Care 101 podcast, helping you to crush overwhelm, stay focused and live better, with your host, Puja McClymont. Thank you so much for listening today. In this episode, I'm going to talk about how we can set and achieve goals during uncertain times. This potential second wave of the pandemic is putting us all in a spin. There is so much out of our control. News-breaking uncertainty triggered by the pandemic, the upcoming election in the US or Brexit for the UK, and the job market's shaky footing are just some examples that have led to astonishing levels of anxiety, which has tripled, and depression, which has increased by 2.5 times since the COVID outbreak began. Now, I'd like to ask you this. If the wellness industry is worth $4.2 trillion, I can't even fathom a trillion, then why are we still struggling to manage stress? Because let's be honest here, and the science backs this all up. Stress is the precursor to the majority of mental health illnesses, including anxiety and depression. There are a multitude of resources available to us, quite literally at the click of a button, as more and more therapists in varying fields take their businesses online. But we're still unable to manage our stress. So in this show, I'm not going to talk explicitly about how you can manage stress. Instead, I'm going to take the focus away from fear, which induces stress, and help you to make goals and achieve them during this uncertainty that we're currently living in. Now, this is not one for the faint-hearted. There are some fierce truths in here that are only suitable for those who are willing to take control of their own lives. So let's get to it. September marks the time of a new season, that back-to-school feeling that affects all of us in some way. Even though it's technically not the second half of the year, it's often cited as the last chance to make things happen before the year ends. Most of us take holidays in August and come back ready to fight for more happiness in our lives, which rarely happens. And this year, we have the added bonus of a global pandemic. So how can we really make goals during uncertain times? Surely that's impossible. Now, with the change of a new season comes change in general. We usually feel more optimistic about the rest of the year, and we work hard to achieve this. We also usually forget about how long it can take to achieve certain goals. But with this new wave of energy, we push any doubts to the side and just soldier on. Usually. Now, we are living in a global pandemic. We can't ignore the not so subtle elephant in the room, but we also don't need to be focusing on it. We need to create a safety bubble that helps us focus on what we want to achieve and then make a sustainable plan of action to make it happen. Now, when we're in this sort of pandemic, and when I'm talking about a bubble, what I'm saying is you can only control so much of COVID. If COVID is a real virus and it is having an impact on everybody or certain people, then of course you have to keep certain people safe, but within a bubble. Outside of that, you can't think about the number of deaths and things because that is going to add more stress, and it's undue stress because they aren't people directly that you know. If it's somebody you know, then that's the correct stress, but if it's not, you're just adding stress to yourself that's not going to help you anyway. Now, I'm not ignoring the fact that some goals will be near impossible to achieve, but unless you're running for Prime Minister or President, what can't you do exactly? If you're trying to find a more secure job, surely focusing on the industries that are thriving is the way to go. Or what about starting that side hustle you've always dreamed about? Can you make it happen? So much of us are online now and are relying on the online world. So it begs the question, why aren't you doing something to change what you're unhappy with? Being sensible, you need to work because you need money to pay the bills. But beyond that, you don't need any more money yet. If you are thinking of changing your career or setting up a business, you need to start thinking like a business owner. Successful business owners and entrepreneurs understand that to break even may take a hot minute. So they aren't expecting lavish lifestyles from the get-go, which is something I so often see with new entrepreneurs. It takes time. Marketing. Unless you have £250,000 to spend on your business's launch, it's going to take you time to reach your ideal client. And to that end, If the majority of us are online now, it gets even harder to find, talk to, and sell to your ideal client because there are so many other people trying to get a piece of that pie. Unfortunately, those with the deepest pockets will be the ones who win most quickly. Now, if you're looking at changing career and you do want to be in a more stable industry, something that I guess is recession proof, shop around. All you can do at this point is shop around. There are less jobs available, of course they are, but this is also a time for when new businesses can emerge, new ideas can emerge. In the last recession, what was it? Airbnb, Uber, WhatsApp, they were all born out of the last recession. There are opportunities here, you've just got to choose to see them. Now, if you're in a job that is secure, stay there, obviously, but start working on something that makes you feel happier, whether that's security, more money, better lifestyle. You can work towards it. If you think you can't, then you're right, you can't. But if you can think more optimistically and look at things just that little bit differently, you might just win. Now, I find it very interesting that we are in this global pandemic. Businesses are going bust left, right, and centre. Shops are closing. I mean, even just walking down my high street, it's actually quite sad to see just dark windows of shops that have unfortunately gone out of business. But I found something very interesting that happened on LinkedIn. Now, this isn't very new. I've seen this sort of stuff before, and it just riles me up. So I'm going to tell you this little story. So there's this new company, right? It's a new food company. It's a plant-based food that is meat-free, and they make basically meat substitutes with plants. Okay, that's a nice idea. Apparently they taste really, really good, and they are, similar to a beef burger. Okay, I'm with you. If that's what it is, that's what it is. Company's doing well. It's getting into the major supermarkets, Waitrose, etc. So they're winning there. Brilliant. Really proud of them. That's great. A small business in a pandemic, still doing well. Fantastic. Then I see them do a crowdfunding campaign, and they wanted to achieve a 2 million goal on this campaign. Okay. All right. That was already my first bugbear. Then I looked at it again, and they ended up exceeding that 2 million and getting over £4 million in investment for a plant-based meat-free meat substitute. Now, I have plenty to say on this topic in terms of, well, if you're going to go vegan or vegetarian, surely you're moving away from meat. Why are you now trying to replace the flavour and just cheat yourselves? Anyway, but that's my opinion on the matter. So we'll just leave that to the side. But what bothered me the most about this is that mental health is killing human beings. Killing them. Actually killing them. Yet no one wants to invest there. Now, why don't they want to invest in mental health? Because it's not sexy. It's not a shiny product to be aligning your lifestyle with. It's not going to help the pharmaceutical industry if thousands of people stop taking medication and stop getting sick. So we instead invest in a plant-based meat substitute, which needs preservatives, it needs flavoring, it needs packaging, and that's going to make our lives better. This stuff infuriates me. Absolutely infuriates me. Now, I'm not saying that if you have this great business idea that it has to be in the mental health space. No, that's not my point here. You can have whatever you want as your business, whatever sells, right? And you're successful, go for it. That little rant, I guess, is because of how things are so skewed. I spoke about some stats at the top of the show about depression and anxiety. If there's such a big epidemic almost of these, why are we not doing enough or doing more to address that? When there's shortages of counsellors at the NHS and therapists, and there are really long waiting lists, and you're not being able to intervene and help clients when they need to be helped, patients when they need to be helped, surely you could pump money there, do a crowdfunding campaign there. Now, I know from doing a very small, tiny GoFundMe a couple of years ago that people aren't willing to invest in mental health services. They aren't. I was reaching out to people asking for a little bit of money, a bit of a donation, so that I could help people essentially for free, because that's what, in mental health, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the counselor, the therapist, the coach to be able to help people for free who need it. Because a lot of people who are in that struggling mental health space probably aren't working. Money is probably quite a factor for them. So that's where it becomes a struggle. But we literally don't intervene until they've attempted on their life, and then they go to hospital and are essentially sectioned, or they stay in the hospital. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense if you're the pharmaceutical industry and you need people to be on medication for the bulk of their life. It makes sense when you think about it then. So, to really be successful in business, you need to know some basic facts like this. And also, most importantly, you need to be different. Difference is what sells. You have to be brave enough to be different. You need to know your self-worth to do this. You need to know that businesses take time to be successful. Even if you have the thousands needed to market your product, you'll still need a team, which is salaries. You'll still need to create campaigns, which don't happen overnight, and also don't bear fruit in an instant. No matter what you think, everyone that you admire as a successful business had to go through tough times, both financially and emotionally, to get to where they are now. Now, we're living obviously in a world of instant gratification. We think that applies to everything. But it doesn't. We're conditioned to think that it applies to everything. You've got to accept that. Only if you have the resources can you win quicker. That's it. Because if your product or service is something that people want, they'll buy it. The more they buy, the more production you'll need to do and more marketing to get more sales. You'll have to keep investing in those things. So if one of the things you want to do is set up a business because of the pandemic and because you're thinking, I need to have more control over my finances and what I do, really think about having a business and what it entails to have a business. How much seed money do you have? How much is in the savings account as your backup plan? Think it through. So this is where we get into goal setting. It's the same with if you wanted to change careers. If you wanted to change careers and change industry maybe, or change jobs and whatever, you might need to learn a bit more in that industry. So that might mean that you won't be able to sidestep at the same level as you are. So say you're an exec right now or a senior manager, you're not going to be able to just go into a new industry necessarily at that same level. You might have to take a 20 grand pay cut. Now your lifestyle's going to change, but your lifestyle's already changed. The pandemic has already changed your lifestyle. So I talk a lot about what's the bottom line. How much do you actually need to pay your bills and feed yourself? That's your bottom line. That's your bottom line number. And then the next question is, how much do you want to change careers? Why do you want to change that career? Ask yourself these questions before you make that decision to move, and really think about it. You can't let the pandemic be your excuse. There's got to be deeper rooted reasons as to why you want to change. Think about them. You know what they are. If you've been in lockdown, if you've been in quarantine, if you've not been able to travel, if you've not been able to do the things that you would normally do, you do know what the answers are. So look at them and then make that decision to change whatever it is you want to change. You've got to think about these things properly. Think them through. Don't assume that this is the best course of action because, God forbid this happens again. You've got to think things through. So how can you set goals in uncertain times during a pandemic? First and foremost, basically what I just said, you've got to know why you want that goal, whatever that goal is. If it's your health, if it's relationships, if it's career, why do you want that goal? Why do you want to change careers? Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to be healthier? Why do you want to be fitter? Why do you want a partner? Why do you want to improve your relationships with your friends? Why do you want new friends? You've got to really ask yourself why, because that why is your purpose. And if you know your purpose for the thing that you're trying to achieve, you are going to stay motivated. Now, don't get me wrong. When you're on a path to achieving goals, you're going to have days where you aren't able to function and you're not going to be motivated. Of course you are. You're human. Life happens. Bojo might say something on the news tomorrow that just annoys you. Like for me, I'm going to be 40 next month. I was expecting a big blowout party. I love a party. Not going to happen. So rather than wallowing in self-pity, I'm like, okay, can't do what I wanted to do. It's not the end of the world. What can I do? What do I really want? I really want a break. I really want to go away for a couple of days. I love traveling. I haven't traveled yet. I'm kind of confined now to traveling in school holidays because the child has started school, but that's a whole other show. So what can I do? I can go away for a few days. I know I'm going to love that. Of course, I'm going to miss out being with friends, but it's okay. They're still there. We'll do something when things are different. No, they will be different, right? Everything changes. It will end eventually. And then I can have the big party if I really want to. So have purpose. That's what's going to keep you motivated. That's what's going to keep you focused towards your goal. Be realistic about the goals that you're setting. Don't commit to, I'm going to make 1 million in a year if you don't have the resources to begin with to make that 1 million. Be realistic. What is it you want to achieve? Why are you setting up a new business? Why are you starting to do, I might just do this. I've seen somebody else start selling t-shirts, or I've seen somebody else start selling hair extensions. I'm going to do that. Think about it. Think about why you're doing this. Don't just do things on a whim. Think it through, because you know what? If you don't think it through, when you hit failure, which you will, let me be very clear with you here. If you are embarking on setting up a business, there are going to be failures. It's not going to be all sweetness and light all the time. All right? Just be very clear on that. Failure is going to look different though. So don't think that failure only looks one way. Failure looks different in different circumstances. So maybe your production line, maybe your distribution, maybe your marketing person, maybe your virtual assistant, all those people let you down. That could be a feeling of failure. But if you know why you're doing it, you'll bounce back from that failure and find a way to fix it, essentially find a solution to it. When you're setting goals, look at the resources that you have. Do you need to invest in other people to support you? So obviously here's a shout out to coaches. Do you need a business coach to help you formulate your plan, a marketing person to write strategy and that business plan? What do you need? Do you need money? Can you get a loan? Do you have the savings? Think about the resources. Who do you know? Who's going to buy from you? Do you have the support from your partner, your family, your friends? What resources do you have? Now, if you are ticking lots of boxes, you are in such a great position to do this. Set that goal and make it happen. Timeline is so important, right? Because some things are out of your control, right? So we know that you won't be able to travel necessarily as freely as you'd like. So say you wanted to do something in fashion, you wanted to start designing your own clothes or something. It might be great to go to Marrakesh and look at the souks and fabrics and, you know what? I'm just thinking about that and feeling like, I want to be in Marrakesh right now. But those sorts of things you won't be able to do necessarily until next year. So create a realistic timeline for whatever it is you're trying to work towards, whatever that goal is. And then, most importantly, which is the bit that people tend to forget when you're setting a goal, is what is the outcome you want to achieve? Think about the end goal. Now, that end goal could be financial, that could be lifestyle, that could be helping people, a number of people, that could be X amount of people wearing your clothes, or you are able to, lose weight and sit in a theme park ride without feeling self-conscious. Whatever it is, what is the outcome you're trying to achieve from this goal? Because that outcome, I promise you, is actually the motivator. That is what's going to keep you motivated. That's the sort of stuff you put on a vision board. That's the stuff that you look at every single day when you wake, when you go to sleep. When you're having your really rough day, look at the outcome. Understand why you're doing all of this. You're doing it because you want that lifestyle. I want that villa in Spain at some point. I do. When people ask me, are you still moving to Spain? I'm like, are you not in a pandemic like I am? I can't answer that. Of course, I'm still moving there in my mind, but The actual, can I get there? How will I get there? Brexit's still up in the air. I don't know yet. Don't ask me that question. But in my heart, yes, I'm still moving to Spain at some point. I don't know when. I don't know what that looks like right now, but I'm okay with it because it's not my short-term goal. So it's okay. That's my long-term goal. I'll get to that once I've done a bunch of other stuff. So be realistic about your goals, realistic about your timelines, but set them. Don't stop living now. Okay? If you haven't contracted COVID, do not stop living now. Continue to live, continue to plan. Take this time as an opportunity, essentially, to reset your life. Now, if you listen to this podcast, you're listening for a reason. I hope that those of you that are listening are hearing this message. Use this as an opportunity. It's too easy to be miserable and hard done by a situation, but there's also so much opportunity in bad times. There really is. Look for it, take action. And when you're setting these goals, you have to set small goals within that because they need to be achievable. So if that means creating 10 minutes a day to write your business plan, that is you moving forward, because last week you weren't doing that. So you've already added something into your life that is going to help you get closer towards your goals. If you only apply for 5 jobs a week, make that 10. Doesn't matter. Just do it. Just do it. Keep doing it. If you do that, your energy is up and you're going to get more of what you put in. These next few things I'm going to talk about are basically a few tips that I've been thinking about, and I'll probably put them on social media, but I thought I would share them with you because I think these are helpful little nuggets, I guess is the best way of describing it, that I've been thinking about. I've been talking to other people and it's like, yeah, let's share these. So one of the things that I would say when you're feeling really overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming, I'm not going to take that away from anybody. It is bloody overwhelming right now. Think about what you can manage that won't actually send you over the edge. What can you manage? If it's only functioning in the day, waking up, shower, working, food shopping, just do that. Eventually, especially if you're a high achiever, eventually you're going to feel like, no, I need more than this in my life, and you'll do it. But just focus on what you can manage that's not going to send you over the edge. And it's really important to do more of that. Focus your attention there. Take advantage of this time to do more clearing out, whether that's emotionally, that's with relationships, or even literal, like cleaning out that kitchen cupboard. Do it. Just do it. Take this time. God willing, we are never going to get this time back again. We don't want this back again. We don't want a pandemic. We don't want people to die. So take this opportunity. There's opportunity in the opportunity. One of my things that I must tell you all to do, and I will bang on about it, consume the news once a day. Just once. You don't need to consume it all day. You don't. Just once a day, whether that's in the morning, ideally after you've given some time for yourself. Definitely not before bed, because if you do it before bed, you're going to have bad dreams, you're going to have restlessness, you're going to have anxiety, you're not going to feel comfortable. We think that it's okay to watch the news at 10. It's not. It's harmful. And besides, what are you going to do with the news that you consume at 10 o'clock at night? Please tell me this. When the newsreader tells you that X more people have died, or this has happened in another country, or the PM's announcing something, how are you going to affect that before you go to bed? You're not. So don't consume it in a time that's so essential for your mental well-being. I recently saw John Lewis announcing their Christmas shop was open online. And at first I was like, I swear it's July. But then I thought about it and I was like, let me have a look. And I went on the app and I started looking at the decorations. And do you know what it did? It got me excited. I was like, yeah. Let's start thinking about Christmas. Why not? That's joyful. It's always joyful. We always enjoy the lead up to Christmas. Oh, yes, it's stressful and yes, there's stuff. But in general, we like the idea a lot of people like the idea of Christmas, right? So I was thinking, what a great little tool Consume more positive content about Christmas ideas, sprucing up areas of your home, new meal ideas, focusing on things that essentially are joyful. Just in of themselves, they are joyful. Go ahead and do that. Now, if you're worried about work, find out what's happening. Stop worrying about it. Find out what's actually happening with work. And if you can't do that, if you can't ask your employer or HR, or you don't believe them, then start a plan to move on. I mean, do you really want to be in a company like that anyway? There's a potential of many people being made redundant in October. How safe is your job? How much certainty do you have in that? What could you side hustle? Could you do some retail work? Could you budget better so that you've got a little safety net for yourself? What's your bottom line? Remember this when I talked about money? Know what your bottom line is and work towards that. So then it's much more manageable. So say, God forbid, you are laid off. You could pick up a job in retail, and it's okay because it covers your bills. It doesn't allow you to buy the Malbec, the Argentinian Malbec. I hear that. But it will allow you to eat and have a roof over your head, which, in case you need a reminder, are the most important things. Travel plans, make them. Make the travel plans. Visualize where you want to go, choose where you want to go, or think about it. If you're into travel, how amazing is it going to be once all this quarantine stuff is lifted, things start resuming a little bit more normality in terms of international travel, those beaches, those sea swims and parties and the great food and the cultures. Oh my gosh, visualize it. Visualize where you want to go. Do a complete vision board of travel, where you want to go, because it's been taken away from you. Somebody took it away. Now let's think about what it's going to look like. When you fill yourself with these beautiful thoughts, you reduce stress. I know I wasn't going to talk about stress, but actually you do reduce stress. Pinterest, set up an account on Pinterest and just pin the places that you would love to go to. And make bookings. Make the bookings. Obviously look at booking policies. Don't lose money, but just book them. It's okay not knowing if they're going to go ahead or not. The people who are hosting, the hotels, the destinations, they also don't know if they're going to go ahead. So go with people who've got flexible booking policies and just book things and look forward to them. And have a plan B, okay? Have a plan B in case you aren't able to travel. What could you do with that time, and what could you do with that money that you allocated? You could probably do a staycation. Have a look around you. See what's available. Do not forget to book holiday days from work. If you are still working from home, and if it's very much going to be what your company puts into place now to work from home, don't forget to book your holiday days. All right. Now, even if you don't travel, you are going to need downtime. So it's really important to book those holidays just as if you would normally book your holiday days. But please, if you can, change your environment, especially if you're still working from home. There is no rest if you stay in the same environment. So get away, even if it's just going for a bramble, a walk or a hike or something that's 20 minutes away from where you are. Do something, change the environment. Keep living. Routines. I know that at the start of lockdown, there were a lot of articles and blogs and social posts about routine, keeping a routine, the importance of a routine. Yes. Routines are important. They're actually very helpful. But I would ask you to review your routine, okay? Have a look at your routine. Are the Netflix binges getting you to where you want to go in life? You've got to stop waiting for the opportunities. You've got to take them for yourself. You've got to take them for yourself, and take them now. Now, I'm going to end on some client wins that I've had. Now, one, as a business owner, I didn't know if I was going to have a business at the end of this pandemic or during this pandemic at the beginning. No idea. I decided to go full-time in my business during the pandemic. I mean, I was literally throwing stuff in the dark. I don't know the phrase. And I really didn't think that I would actually have clients to talk about right now or be in a position to help anyone if my business was also in trouble. But shall I tell you something that was common with all of my clients? They took control of their life and their choices. No, it's not always about adding stuff. Sometimes it's more about taking away things that don't actually serve you and replacing them with the things that take you to where you want to be. And one thing is for sure, each one is in control. Each one of my clients is now more in control of their life than they have ever been. They know what helps them manage their stress and anxiety, and they are well on their way to achieving their goals. And remember, it's not so much a case of these massive goals. Oh, I want to be a billionaire, and I want to have a yacht, and I want to have, I don't know, a six-figure salary. It's not those massive goals. Sometimes it's literally, I just want more time to do stuff that I love rather than spend more time procrastinating, or I want better relationships. I don't really like my friendships. It's different things for different people, and they're not necessarily massive. I find that the word goal can also be always sort of attributed to monetary or material gain, but it's not necessarily that. It could be anything, self-development. And also, I'm only a WhatsApp, a DM, a text away from any negative self-talk spirals that clients have, any situational anxiety, or even just to brag out loud of their accomplishments. And guess what? They crush any overwhelm that wants to creep in. They stay focused towards their goals, and ultimately, they are living better. Thank you for listening to the Self-Care 101 podcast. If you enjoyed the show, I would love it if you would subscribe, rate and review so that other people like you can find the show. To find out more about me, you can follow me on the socials at Frankly Coaching or visit my website, franklycoaching.com. Talk to you soon.